Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Too Many Guys Soccer Show short. It's not going to be that short, as I'm still battling COVID. Hopefully, I'll be able to make it through this read like the absolute one-take wonder that I am. Come on, me, you got this. Anyway, if there's some terrible cuts in here, you'll know I didn't make it. Anyway, tonight we'll do a preview of all 12 Women's Super League teams as their season starts this week. I am Chelsea Mike, your host. I put in my contacts and I'm taking a shower and I'm not lying in bed. That's how much I love women's soccer. I'm here to make this for you tonight. Let's jump right in. Uh, this will be a reminder for most of you, but if you're new to this, here's the competition format. There are 12 teams in the Women's Super League. They face each other twice, and the team that earns the most points wins the league, obviously. The top three teams enter the Champions League, but here's where things get a little different. The top team in the WSL is automatically guaranteed a place in the group stage, but the second place team only makes the second qualifying round, with the third place team starting at the beginning. That can create a little bit of pre-WSL season drama. A little more on that later. Only the bottom team from the WSL is relegated, and they are replaced by the winner of the WSL Championship. Yes, there are lower leagues in English women's football. Let's also talk about where to watch your favorite WSL teams. There's a bit of a change in the way you can watch the Women's Super League here in the States this year. Last year, Paramount Plus had the rights to the games, but apparently that has ended. The BBC and Sky bought broadcast rights in England, so select games over there will be over the air. In another change, all of the matches that are not on Sky or the BBC will be on YouTube. So instead of going to the old FA player and potentially listen to a radio broadcast of your favorite team, you can now check out the WSL YouTube channel. Now, for us here in the States as Americans, that puts us in a nebula. I've looked everywhere and I've asked fan groups and everything, and do not believe we yet have a broadcast contract. So while you'll likely be able to watch YouTube when your team is not a featured match in England, where the BBC and Sky games are going to be in the States is anyone's guess. As of now, I cannot find Chelsea Villa this Friday anywhere, but I will keep you updated in the comments below. Now let's move to the teams. Exiting the WSL last year was Bristol City, who returned to the championship. Replacing them will be Crystal Palace, who narrowly topped Charlton Athletic by 1 point to earn promotion. And they were clearly the best team in the championship last year. But to avoid that quick trip back down, Palace have brought in a few NWSL players from America, including Katie Stengel returning to England from Gotham. They are also seemingly Chelsea's repository of youth talent, with a number of young loanees settling in there. Look, the WSL is not the Premier League, so the team that comes up is not going to do what Nottingham Forest did and buy 3 squads worth of teams, right? But have Palace done enough to stay up here? It doesn't really feel like it. They didn't spend enormously, but some other teams' problems might help them. One of those teams is West Ham. They were not very good last year, and did they get better? They had some big losses, including Mackenzie Arnold, defenders Hanoka Hayashi and Hawa Sissoko. That's not really great, losing the entire core of your defense filled with international players. For a team who were second bottom to Bristol last year in terms of conceding goals, that's a bad development. And considering they scored the fewest goals last year, they didn't add really any artillery to help former French national player Vivian Asset. So common sense might dictate that their goal differential will be worse this year. Will that be enough for West Ham to be relegated? Uh, that remains to be seen. Nonetheless, Palace coming up don't have to beat the whole league. They only have to beat West Ham. All right, let's move up then to Leicester, whose 10th place finish last year was a bit harsh. They were plagued by off the field issues, and including managerial issues. But they are back this year. They still have Yuto Rantala, who created 11 goals last season, and they improved their side with new manager Amandine Mikel, who brought with her a number of international players from Reims. And she also brought in Jamaican defender Chantel Swaby and English U23 player Ruby Mace, who has pedigrees at top clubs and is only 21. All in all, it does feel like Leicester are a little bit better, but are they better than eighth better? Probably not. But they could surprise, and really that surprise could go either way. The team who probably had the most adventurous offseason would be Brighton, who, after their own managerial problems, they look for stability and direction, and they accomplished that by changing their whole team. It is a bit of a change in philosophy for a club that prides itself on finding diamonds in the rough across all their businesses, men's and women's. There are, in fact, a number of high-profile arrivals in Lionesses Nikita Paris. And, of course, my girl, Fran Kirby, will always be number 14 in blue in my heart. Thrive on, girl. But you know what? No more goals at Kings Meadow. You're done. You've done that enough. Anyway, they also stole Jelena Kankovic from Chelsea, whose talent really never got to be put on full display for the Blues, though she was very good at Rosengard. And additionally, they've added Japanese international Kiko Seika and look to add more goals with allowing an international Aisha Saka, who joins from Hacken in Sweden. Shout out Hacken. So what will you see from Brighton? It will be something completely different. Can it come together? Paris and Kirby are both over 30. Masaka has earned 15 caps for Malawi, but is only 20. Pushing the top half seems unlikely here, but I will tell you, I'm not going to be the one betting against Fran Kirby. Just overcome a lot. Oh, and sorry, did you come here for objective analysis? Right, it says Chelsea might right here. Wait until you hear who I picked to win the league. But we're miles away from that right now as we move on to Everton. Not too much to say about Everton, really. And as this is a podcast, it's both really bad entertainment and not a great sign. They lost Sweden international Hannah Bennison, probably their best player, in a move that probably signals where Everton are at right now as a club. On the field, they brought in Tony Payne and Spanish youth international in Gabarro, who people are pretty excited about. But Everton are a club in shambles. Poor ownership and stadium project are draining their resources. And until the club is sold, if it ever is, there's probably little hope for serious investment in this team. In fact, one can argue if the men's team is relegated as they've been abysmal, there could even be a further sell-off. Don't expect any January transfer window help is all I'm saying. Although their defense was very good last year and should remain so, a 10th place finish and one more year in the WSL would probably be par for the course for me for Everton. Right then. Staying in the Northwest, let's go to Aston Villa, where Rachel Daly plays football. The 22-23 Golden Boot winner had a much tamer second season back in England, which contributed to their goal differential falling from plus 10 to minus 16, despite only conceding 7 more goals. Of course, if you're in soccer, if you're giving up more than you're scoring, you're losing. And so to help that, Villa picked up young English star Missy Kearns to bolster the offense, who's really looking to have a huge season, along with Brazilian international Gabby Nunez and Chastity Grant. Clearly, the strategy here is that they need more goals. And if history proves correct, that will lead to better outcomes. If you haven't noticed, this list is in opposite order of last year's finish, and I think next year we might have to wait a little bit longer for the Aston Villa preview. I think Villa's business this summer makes a whole lot more sense than a lot of teams, including some of the teams above them. So to me, fifth or even fourth is not outside the world of possibility. I do think Europe is a stretch. They're just not going to beat Barcelona. And jump cut to Tottenham. Sorry. And I had a coughing fit. I have to say, I usually don't get Tottenham right. 3 years ago, they were in fifth and Indian ascendancy. So I overreacted. And then the next year, they're teasing relegation. And so the sky is falling. And then last year, they came in sixth, precisely mid-table. So who are Spurs? They still have Beth England and Martha Thomas, and they brought in Haley Rosso and Maita Oroz from Real Madrid. Gee, thanks, Tottenham. Thanks. Thanks for gunning Real, because that's what Barcelona need, less competition. Think of your fellow teams in the league, Spurs. Stop being so selfish. Anyway, are they a little better? Yes, they are better. Is the entire league a little better? Also, yes. They were the definition of mid last year. The mean defense in the WSL conceded 36 goals, and Tottenham conceded 36 goals. They'll be a little bit better offensively. I think that's enough to hold where they are, potentially even improve mildly. So now we're in the teams that challenged for Europe, but really, Manchester United, I am giving you way too much credit. 15 points adrift of Europe the year after you took Chelsea the final weekend for the WSL title. That's a draw. I predicted it right here, because you can't lose the kind of talent that Manchester United did and compete with the teams who are adding talent. This year, they did add. They did. But they lost Mary Earps. They lost Nikita Paris. They lost Katie Zellum. And they lost Lucia Garcia, who pretty much won them the FA Cup. This summer, the players they added, like Dominique Janssen and young Simia Wujo, both have international pedigrees, and they still have Ella Toon, so maybe I'll be proven wrong. But they don't feel better. So while I think the pundits, naturally supporters, might think that they've adequately compensated for their losses, I think they're wrong. I also think that the culture at Manchester United is rotten. When the owner comes out and says that the women's team is just not a priority to them, and they move the women out of their training facility to make room for the men, you can see how their own management view them as a side. They're an afterthought. And they could have been one of the premier teams in Europe. They've got the resources. Red Devils, I will tell you this, I could be wrong. There could be a solid fourth place finish again in your future. Because you're not top three. Let's not go crazy here. But if you fall from fourth to lower, you have no one but yourself to blame. Maybe I'm getting to know now why Glazers out is such a popular phrase in Manchester. I think in an era where the WSL is growing in popularity, not investing is both bad for the Man United brand and it's bad for women's football, because let's face it, Manchester United probably have the largest supporter base of any club in the entire world. And the WSL is losing the opportunity to convert men's only supporters as one of their biggest clubs just diddles about. Yes, then, now maybe to last year's biggest surprise, Liverpool, who only 2 seasons before were playing in the championship, and then they rose up to fourth. They are a team that in many ways lacks big names of a Man U, who they bested. But the biggest name on the team, as far as I could tell, Missy Bo Kearns, is left, as has Emma Koivisto and Dutch international Shanice van de Sanden. Um, so there are losses there. They still have Sophie Roman Hogg, who is actually their best player and should be a star. And they brought in young Canadian forward Olivia Smith along with Gemma Evans. And I'm sorry, England, that's how we pronounce that name. Anyway, I think a lot of their success comes down to Coach Matt Beard. Yes, Coach Beard for you Ted Lasso fans. But do we need another season? I mean, I love it, but didn't it end? But anyway, right, Liverpool. Matt Beard had success with Liverpool in the very early years of the WSL, winning 2 titles before leaving and then returning. To me, he's a good coach, and I don't know if fourth is necessarily going to be where they'll land this year, but also it wouldn't shock me. Right. So now on to the big guys, girls, the big girls, the European sides. Let me preface. I think the next 2 teams' competitiveness in the league is going to hinge on whether or not they qualify for the group stages in Europe. As of this recording, both Arsenal and City have completed their first leg of the final qualifying round for the UEFA Women's Champions League. I do think fixture congestion is a big part of this, but I think that if either don't make it, they'll have fresher legs and additional motivation. So this could change rapidly. City did pretty well against Paris FC and also Arsenal. Speaking of Arsenal, for some reason, a 28-year-old all-time leading WSL goal scorer is just not good enough for you. You know, she's in her prime, and you just let Viviana Miedema wander off to City for free. For free? Cool, bro. Thanks for the memories. You want to continue scoring goals for us at a record pace? Nah, man, we don't need any of that. I would think that you are going to regret that. And it will be to your detriment and not necessarily to hers. A little bit more on that in a minute. In fairness, I like what Arsenal have done this summer. You know, they still have Russo and Mead, McCabe, and Blackstenius and Williamson and Wubbenmoy and on and on. It's a good place to start. Then you add in Mariona Caldente. She's from Barcelona, so obviously she's overrated, but she'll be good. Also coming in from Hacken, shout out Hacken, who got absolutely decimated, by the way. Their squad got cleared out. You'll hear that again and again. Just in time to take on her former team is Rosa Kafaji, who scored more goals than anyone in a Hackett kit last year. I am excited to see what she can do in the WSL. And also add Daphne Van Donselaar, who seems unnecessary with Zinsberger there, but still, they're good moves. Unfortunately, City and Chelsea have also made good moves. And third is indeed where you will land. Good luck in Europe. More seriously, I think another European flameout League Cup come in third kind of season should be curtains for their manager, Jonas Eidevall. Eidevall incites strong reactions. There are rumors, albeit perhaps unfounded, that the locker room culture there is toxic. And even if that's not true, the results haven't been good enough anyway. So, you know, the fact that that Arsenal are the most storied team in English women's football, it's probably bad for the game in general that they don't win. As I confess, and you have to know how hard this is for a Chelsea supporter. They definitely have the largest and most passionate fan base in the league. And smash cut back. Where were we? Oh, yeah, Arsenal third, I'd all out. Flame out in Europe. Yeah, yeah. So then let's move over then to City. City, we're seeing a Blackstenius going off in one game away from winning the league last year. And Viviana Miedema is a marquee sign. So let's talk a little bit about Viv because I don't exactly know where she fits on the team. Bunny Shaw has led the line, so 9 isn't it. In terms of the midfield, there's a cloud of Jess Park and Yui Hasagawa, Jill Ward, who's super talented and underrated, Laura Coombs, and on the wing, you've got Chloe Kelly and Lauren Hemp. So where does Viv fit? Are they going to run a 4-1-4-1? I think that'd be interesting. And in a 4-1-4-1, does she even start there? To me, she's going to sit more than she should for a player of her quality, but she's going to be in a winning situation. I'm sure she probably wanted to stay in England for life reasons, but to me, Wolfsburg had a perfect spot without Rord, without Ava Payor, who went to Barcelona. If I were her agent, where I would have put it, but I'm just, a middle-aged couch junkie. Anyway, I've mentioned talent. They've lost some, notably Ellie Roebuck to Barcelona. She's going to be hard to replace. Philippa Engeldahl was a big bench piece. I liked her, respected her, and Steph Houghton's retirement will mean some experience and leadership are lost. That said, they will be fine. I feel like it might be sounding negative because I'm scared for Viviana Miedema not realizing her full potential, but I'm scared because they have too many good players. Everyone knows how good Bunny Shaw is, but she's still underrated. They didn't need Viv, but now they have her. This year is a golden opportunity for City. It's their year. Chelsea are in transition and have a bunch of lingering injuries. City are hoarding talent. Are they thin in defense? Maybe a little. We were able to peek into Arsenal and City a little bit as they played Champions League matches this week. City were faced with Paris FC, who took out both Arsenal and Man U in last year's preliminary rounds, and City smoked. Bunny Shaw was unavailable due to a visa issue, which is weird. But Miedema was in the midfield and scored in a 5-0 demolition of the French side. I'll spare the Arsenal fans a recap, but it's not good. Shout out again to BK Hacken. Every year they make talent. They sell talent. Then they make more talent. Shout out. Finally tonight, let's get to the 5-time defending champions in Chelsea. Obviously, it would be an understatement to call this a year of transition. Having departed to already win an international trophy, Chelsea lose a serial winner in Emma Hayes. They have replaced her with another serial winner in Sonia Baum-Pastor, one who has won the only thing that eluded Hayes, the UEFA Champions League. Baum-Pastor is not a downgrade on paper. However, only time will tell if she can fill the shoes of Emma Hayes. I think early signs are going to come with the new players Baum-Pastor brought in. One of the most underrated elements of Hayes' time at Chelsea was her ability to find and bring in talent. While most of the major WSL sides are teaming with Lionesses, and Chelsea certainly have their own in Laura James, right? Hayes was able to find and attract players like Johanna Reeting Canary from Hacken, shout out, and Gora Wright from Scandinavia, and Myra Ramirez from Spain, and Sam Kerr from the US, all of whom are 20-plus goal creators if given the chance. Vika Captain, who's only 19 and spent last year out on loan, looks like she could be the next Aitana Bonmati. I might be overreacting, but like Bunny, you know how good Emma Hayes is, and you're still underestimating. This year's recruitment has a distinctively more French flair, with Oriana Jean-Francois and Sandy Baltimore, and of course the famous Lioness Lucy Bronze coming in. She played for Baum-Pastor in Lyon when she worked there. Meanwhile, the transition is real. There's a loss of fan favorites, and not just the manager, but we lose Anne-Catherine Berger and her fiance Jess Carter, both of whom look great for Gotham in the U.S. Mel Loopholes, Lees wasn't a enormous contributor, but she was Sam Kerr's famous Yummy Mummy. Club stalwarts like Maren Melde and Fran Kirby lose as well. Kirby was recruited by Hayes from Reading in 2015. And Godspeed to you, but no more goals in Kings Meadow. You're only allowed to frustrate defenses in red. Chelsea have the same problem as City. Sam Kerr is out probably at least until Christmas, but when she's back, who sits? Because someone has to, because there's no way in the world you're not playing a healthy Sam Kerr. Is it Myra? She was, for a period of time, the most expensive signing in women's football history. Lauren James, Gora Wrighton, Katarina Macario. The level of talent at Chelsea is higher. But don't start looking at me than any other. It's higher than any other team. But don't, I'm a homeboy, yeah, whatever. But look at the FIFA ratings. I think there's a lot of people who don't want Palace to go down because what fun is that? Team that comes up going down all the time. And I think everyone with a mic and a camera who can articulate it more well than I can right now are going to tell you that City are going to win. Why? Because they're bored of Chelsea winning all the time. 5 straight, that's massive. And the careers of Lauren Hemp and Alessia Russo are just wasting away with no WSL title. Well, you know what, Lauren Hemp and Alessia Russo? Tough. You're not going to win. It's going to be 6 straight for Chelsea. Chelsea have better depth and quality at every position, especially defense, where City might have a problem. And sure, Arsenal exists, but go ahead and beat Hacken before you can beat Chelsea. Shout out Hacken. It's going to be 6. It might be 10 if the civil war in the boardroom doesn't blow up. They're just too good. I'm sorry about how not sorry I am. All right, then. Season starts this week. Chelsea and Aston Villa are the BBC match, so maybe I'll be able to see it without tapping into a Taiwanese feed, or maybe not. You Arsenal and City fans who, ho-hum, are facing off against each other week 1, Sunday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You appear to be in the same boat with me here in the United States. But anyway, that means those other teams will be on YouTube, so check them out. I apologize. COVID is still a real thing. It really is not great. But I did my best because I wanted to make sure that this preview got uploaded before the start of the Women's Super League season. Anyway, from all of us here at the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, thank you for watching. Like this video, comment and subscribe below. If I figure out where they're going to play the WSL in the US this year, I'll comment it below. But for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, I'm Chelsea Mike Shistag. We did okay this week. We'll definitely do better next time.